So I want to introduce our solstice guides for the evening, Margie Flanders and Mike Laureanno. Poet Margie Flanders' work has appeared in numerous journals. Her collection of poetry is titled The Persuasive Beauty of Imperfection, which is a title I adore. She's a founding member of Ocean State Poets, and for 9 years she was part of a team that facilitated poetry groups at Rhode Island's medium security prison. She has led numerous poetry workshops for libraries, schools, conferences, and women's centers. Margie is the managing editor of the Crosswinds Poetry Journal. Singer-songwriter Mike Laureanno hails from Fall River, Massachusetts, an old mill town famous for its axe-wielding resident, Lizzie Borden, and I didn't know this, for its chow mein sandwiches and pork pies. Mike has been called Fall River's Poet Laureate. He is proud of his roots. Many of his songs deal with his gritty blue-collar hometown and the lives of his family and friends. I have to say personally, the concerts that he did from his porch beginning last spring when the pandemic hit and continued throughout the summer and until it really got too cold to sit out there. They've been a soothing balm to his neighbors and friends and fans who are many. Speaking of different cultures a bit, I'm from Minnesota. Minnesotans have a gift for understatement, and one of our most popular phrases, especially for any complicated or jarring event that happens outside the norm, is, "That's different." And I can say, without the usual Minnesota hesitation, that the year 2020 has definitely been different. One of the most profound differences has been that we often experience life through a computer screen, as we are tonight. So I've gathered some thoughts about our solstice screen experience tonight into a poem. On solstice night, in pandemic time, the screen is our moon, a fourth goddess of dissonant light, alien guide to the outer world where we all reside. She takes our hands, hers brittle, chapped, turns our eyes blurred, strained, red from weeping for our fractured world. We enter in the flickering space. Beyond the screen, you listen, watch. Our voices pierce the darkened night. In the harsh glow, we see your face.
Beautiful, Mike. Okay, yes, as Mary said, this is different. Someone said it's like reading into the abyss. So it feels particularly important for me to imagine you all out there, to know that you're listening. I took a poem that I had read previous years and I tried to make it contemporary for 2020. So
44 points. Close at 30,154. The Nasdaq rose.
Should I just read on?
Margie, I think, is there background noise? It sounds like it's coming from your device. No? Okay. John, if you would just see if anyone's unmuted, and then Margie, go ahead.
It's called evidence of real beauty. Let us imagine we are together in one room, foregoing the infinite for the specific, with our various shades of rosy glow, reflecting candles lit with winter's abandonment of the dark. Just for now, we can make ourselves into a circle, vast and strong with surprise and spirit, inviting in the totality of life, and at the same time, letting go of what we don't need right now. We are tonight for each other. We speak or listen or sing this circle alive, and away from the slap of cold outside and the enormity of the world, we do the necessary work of creating from nothing but our love and honoring real beauty. So here we are at the solstice. We are ruled by the sun and moon and the earth's place in the bigger picture more than we usually realize. The ancients were, of course, were much more aware of it. And part of their worship was to examine and get whatever understanding they could from what they knew about how things worked in the universe, from the limited scientific knowledge they had. But they were pretty good at paying attention and observing. And I think these days many people have become, blasé about celestial workings because we understand gravity and physics and astronomy, at least in some limited way, most of us. But we still like gazing at the moon. We watch for shooting stars. We watch for the northern lights. And I think maybe we're hardwired to do that. But there's something about winter and the winter solstice that really gets our attention. I think it has a lot to do with the light and the dark and the light and the balance between the two, which can be a metaphor for so many things, for the parts of our lives or human nature. So it's a natural thing to create traditions at this time. Many of the old winter holiday traditions are still continued in some form in our modern traditions. So it's always interesting for me to poke around and see what other cultures, how they celebrate winter and the dark nights of December. So one I found was an Iranian tradition. It's called Yalda. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it's to celebrate the triumph of Mithra, the sun god. And they celebrate by eating and drinking and also reading poems to each other. So there you go. We're right in sync. So I'm going to read a couple and share another tradition as well. The turning. The earth has locked, cracked open pods. Seeds wheel in the catch of wind. The forest is broken apart, shifts in her grief, sings into death's mouth. The hemlocks are dead. Snow will come. Deep entangled roots is knowledge. Each stroke of life must cease, must give up to what will come next. And this next one is another solstice poem. That's actually the title because I've written so many so I decided to call one another solstice poem. My light is nearly smothered by dark. All the grandiose movements of time stop. My mother and father are dead forever. The cat hides in a cardboard box, happy for the warmth of secrecy. The woodpile waits to be drawn from in sequence. First the well-seasoned, then logs more recently treed. The logic of winter bears down upon me. The ocean is too cold to swim. I light a candle and then another. One for my faith in the parting of dark. One for the return of light. And the next tradition I wanted to share with you, we've done this maybe every year, I'm not sure. It's a tradition that's called Blue Christmas. And it's usually celebrated in the early part of Advent, certainly a few weeks before Christmas. And it's a special service for those who have lost loved ones that year. And it's a way of taking time out and taking space to honor their own grief and the grief of others. And maybe that allows them to then later find some joy in moving toward the light. So we've done it here by calling out the names of those we have lost. And if you think you'd like to do that, please feel free to unmute yourself and call the name out loud, or you can just say it silently in your heart, whatever you're most comfortable with. And I want to start with the unnamed people we've lost to the pandemic, and especially the healthcare workers. We may not know their names, but we feel the loss. And I'm going to start, I'm going to call the name of Neil Canny. I'm leaving space for names, but maybe we don't need to.
How about John Prine?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Harvey Truss,
George Ferga,
Donald Walker.
I'd like to remember the unnamed people in prisons, in the immigrants that are being held in prisons, and the children that are abandoned, who feel like their parents have died.
Thank you, Martin.
Nancy Mancucci, Laura Bell, 2 International House teachers, Sandy McCulloch, a long-time International House member.
They will all be missed. Blessed be.
This is called Pushing Back Wintertime, and you might think tonight it's about shoveling snow, but it's not. It's just a little metaphor about pushing through the darkness. And the song mentions the word snowdrop. And a snowdrop is a little plant, a little flower with a white bulb hanging down. And you might see it in late February, early March, breaking through the crust of the snow, reaching for the sunlight, a harbinger of spring and hope. The snow is climbing high. His memory drifts in the night through the heart of the storm to his heart that was torn, pushing back wintertime. She was the spring, he was the fall. They couldn't bring down that wall. In a blizzard she took flight. He watched her fade to white, pushing back wintertime. She planted a tree in his yard. She said it would grow to the stars. Now with ice-covered limbs, it fights in the wind, pushing back wintertime. Burning her oak in the fire, saying goodbye, old desire. The melting has begun, a snowdrop greets the sun, pushing back wintertime. Pushing back wintertime.
So we are moving toward the light, the way the snowdrops will. The tradition I wanted to share with you, I just learned about. It's the Yule goat, and it goes back to the worship of the Norse god Thor, who rode the sky in a chariot drawn by two goats, allegedly. And in the old days, they made a straw Yule goat from the last harvest of grain. And that's a very common theme in these traditions of honoring what the earth has offered. And now that the earth is dormant, we can still enjoy those things and celebrate them. So the Yule goat is still a popular ornament, evidently. So I'm going to read a couple more poems. Near solstice. The sun, coy and stingy with its near winter warmth, will start to offer light morning and late afternoon, a little bit at a time, leaning in, giving me an hour here, an hour there. I yearn for light. I adore and embrace it when it comes. Love the look of it on trees at dawn, on the summer waves I swim through. But I learn more from the dark. My fear of it teaches me who I am. When December tries to snuff out my light, I find ways to deny it with candles, bells, laughter, my eagerness to hear music. But the dark stays with me, in me, not curse or blessing, just another piece of wisdom to try to understand, like the way moonlight relies on darkness to shine, or how unlit sleep births dreams. I accept the dark, have no choice, because it accompanies me always in my journey toward the light. And this is called Lesson. Winter is just an idea I can hardly fathom in mid-December. Mail comes in, goes out, calendars wait to flip, and all I feel is the tidal movement of time, imperceptible and ineffable. That is the second time this week I've used the word ineffable, and that is probably quite enough. But it lets me know I am dealing with the unknowable. I'm out of whack, beyond reason. I'm a little lost, don't really know what I'm saying. So I turn to what is. White cradle of snow, mantling our paths through the forest, deep within which I live. Tonight needs no words. The wind doesn't whistle. I learn silence.
This is called December, and it's a little prayer, an incantation, if you will, to never lose hope, but rather to gather in love and to fan the embers and to help December's winter sun shine above. December closed her eyes, blew out the candle, went to sleep to find some peace of mind. The year had been unkind, manhandled. She reached beyond her grief for one good sigh. As days grow shorter, hope burns longer. Darkness cannot fight against the light. Gather in love, fan the embers, help December's winter sun shine above. Weary, frightened doves on the icy branches, there are hawks who have no heart peering down. But there is a holly bush past the cold park benches, where the old, the sick, the weak are safe and warm. As days grow longer, hope burns stronger. Darkness cannot fight against the light. Gather in love, fan the embers, help December's winter sun shine above. Help December's winter sun shine above.
And now we move into welcoming the light. The Scandinavians scatter seed from the last harvest on their front doorstep. I'm not sure if it's Christmas Eve or New Year's, but it's an offering to the birds. And it's a way of including the birds in the feasting that they're going on into at this time. Because sometimes there were days, people would feast for several days in a row maybe. But this was said to bring good luck for the next year. Makes sense to me. And the other one I'm going to share is it's from Iceland, and it's called Jólabókaflót, or Yule Book Flood. And on Christmas Eve, they celebrate, get this, by giving each other books, and then they go in bed, they get to bed and read and eat chocolate. Pretty good, right? So I don't think that was an ancient tradition, but I really think that we should be making up new traditions all the time. And maybe they'll last for hundreds of years, who knows? So this next poem is called Winter Solstice. Dawn, steady and quiet as breath, leaves her gift on our doorstep the morning after solstice. We've been dreaming or wishing to, turning in our delicate cradles of sleep in the tuneful space left for dreams that can't yet find us. Dawn, knowing the night's journeys can be difficult and tangled, strokes us gently, assures us all our unremembered dreams have been packed away in tissue, tied with blue ribbon for another time. In our half sleep, we let go of worry, continue our drifting, knowing that what awaits us is even more precious, the sacred full light of a new day. This is called Winter Solstice Conversation with a Cat. I say, I wonder why I wonder. She asks, why? She tucks her paws in, closes her eyes. I think it's about the light, I say. That's why I wonder. She asks again, why? With one eye open. I stroke her vibrant silky fur, ask, why don't you wonder? She closes her eyes, rests her chin on my leg. I'm still wondering about the light, I say. She stretches and purrs. Why wonder, she says, and so I don't. I have two more to read before we go to the open mic, which is going to be great. This next poem has a poinsettia in it, and I just learned the other day that poinsettia is indigenous to Mexico and Central America. The Europeans described it back in 1834, but wild poinsettia was cultivated by the Aztecs, and it was used in their traditional medicine. So I love the sense of it becoming a different tradition in a different area. So this poem is about the Unitarian church that I used to go to in my hometown. And this was probably the last time I was there for our Christmas Eve service. Christmas Eve. In the sanctuary, the heat pipes complain, and the final fly of the season rounds the pulpit, pauses at the obedient poinsettia, rushes down to me in the pew, then transcends into the white height above our singing. The minister rumbles like Zeus, pleased, as we bless each other, wipe our eyes, write notes and poems on the orders of worship, it's me, and worship. Out the window, winter frosts the carpets of macadam, stretching beyond the night's last station. One star settles above the mist of evergreens and streetlights, and I hear the call and buzz of the high and the low answering each other. Now close the hymnal of Christmas Eve. Let candles flicker at the door. Go out into the flux of light and dark, where the sacred and the terrestrial are one. And my last poem is called Ringing in the Light. And if you happen to have a bell with you handy, feel free to ring it at the end. Ringing in the Light. We near the end of a year when light was mishandled by dark, when earth shook slightly like gears rumbling the machinery of time. And time had its own stories to tell, Some made no sense. Some were mean. And we lost lives. And there was not enough rain. But beauty, too, lives in dark times. Planets, red and gold, jeweled night sky. And the moon was blue. And glimpses of hope peeked through our masks. Hidden smiles that helped us recognize each other. We have known dark too well, are ready for light. Our skin tingles at the thought of it, a flush of longing that travels from the tops of our heads down to where our feet connect with earth. And underground, tulip bulbs are dreaming of light. Days end early, night comes unwanted, unreckoned. We regret July days squandered, staying inside. What light we have lost cannot be made up. In the dark, we learn to find our own light and pray sun keeps its promise as it always has. But solstice is near. We feel its approach, like the sounding of church bells, temple bells, reindeer and cowbells, and tiny invisible silver bells we hear only in our ears, all ready to ring. We will ring to each other. We will ring in the light.
My mom used to say, when in doubt, be kind. Leave folks with a smile on their face. And who couldn't do with a little more kindness, especially this time of the year? I miss taking my dad to go see my mom in the nursing home. And I miss playing for her there and watching them sing along and dance. The song's inspired by them. My father called to say hello. He spoke like winter, cold and slow. The Yuletide season took its toll. He was in need of cheer and someone to hold. Sometimes words can heal a heart. Sometimes love can lift the dark. Human kindness can melt the snow. Leave them smiling when you go. He had a wife, but now she's gone. He visits her in the old folks' home. One day she won't know his name. He will hold her hand just the same. Sometimes words can heal a heart. Sometimes love can lift the dark. Human kindness can melt the snow. Leave them smiling when you go. So we rolled that stone from his cave. He turned his nighttime into day. His winter voice was warmer now. He could hear the carols and the bells. Sometimes words can heal a heart. Sometimes love can lift the dark. Human kindness can melt the snow. Leave them smiling when you go. And my father called to say hello. Leave them smiling when you go.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Margie. Kind of hate to.
I think you're unmuted. I can't hear Margie. I can't hear you, Mary.
Okay. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Margie. Kind of hate to break that trance, but it's time for open mic. And we have 11 or 12 readers tonight. So we're really asking, even though we talked about people being able to read 2 poems for 5 minutes, to really limit your reading to 1 poem. We want to ask everyone to unmute yourself when it's time for you to read. And the way this will work is that I'll call your name. Also, I think Alex is going to put your name up on chat so you can prepare for when it's your turn to read. We just kind of put these in order of when they came in. I think Alex just did that. Okay. And again, don't forget to unmute yourselves like I just did. All right, so we are going to start with Risa Gilpin, who, as Alex said, was here in the beginning when we conjured up this solstice event. Risa?
Can you
Hi,
hear me?
Risa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm delighted we could continue to do this. And I was speaking to Alex earlier and said if it was a normal winter solstice night, we would probably have had to cancel. So I'm happy to see you all here in your cozy homes. The poem that I'm going to read is by Phyllis Levin, and it's called The Blizzard. Now, whoops, my cat. Now that the worst is over, they predict something messy and difficult. Though not life-threatening, clearly we needed to stock up on water and candles, making tureens of soup and things that keep when electricity fails and phone lines fall. Igloos rise on air conditioners, gargoyles fly and icicles shatter. Frozen runways, lines in markets, and paralyzed avenues verify every fear. But there is warmth in this sudden desire to sleep, to surrender to our common condition, with joy, watching hours of news devoted to weather. People finally stopped to talk to each other. The neighbors we didn't know were always here. Today, they are ready for business, armed with a new vocabulary, casting their saga in phrases as severe as last night's snow, damage assessment, evacuation, emergency management. The shift of the wind matters again, and we are so simple, so happy to hear the scrape of a shovel next door. Thank you.
Thank you, Risa. David Dragoni.
Hi,
Hi.
this is a lot of fun, actually. I've never done this before. My poem is called Solstice Walk in Winter Woods. Forget these ripe shadows pruning the daylight. The sun will not shy away from its surrender. Celebrate every weep of snow without endless outpourings of how spring waits for us all. Toast how the unresolved solstice sky resolves to shiver you and how you can still stay warm-blooded. Glory at how things still grow beneath the surface of this cold and brittle church of earth. Cheer how this first cold winter wind strips these trees without fully disrobing them. Revel in how tree voices in the woods bark with timbres of aching joy, becoming more becoming in the ear of the beholder. Honor how their bland bones still rollick in the nippy breeze as frost blanches chilled branches.
Thank you, David. Next, we have Joe Scott. I don't know if he'll be doing a song or a poem tonight. We'll find out.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
This poem was read last year. It was written by Gianna Colonna Romano, who is probably not present. And last year she had to depart for the theater. But it touched my heart, and so I repeat it. Let your eyes adjust. Moonlight on the snow, so quiet, so gentle, so slow. The faintest whisper on the air, magic to behold should you dare. Drifting, dancing on the wind. Each flake falls with a patient spin. Colors to see in our darkest hour, rivaling those of the finest flower. Open your eyes and ears and heart to the symphony of the night, the longest dark. Seize the chance, fragile moment of glass, for the sun comes again, and this darkness will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, next we have Monica Andrea Ramos Morales.
Yes, it's me.
Yes.
I would like to read my first poem in English that I made in my Susan's class. I was inspired in a painting that is, the name is The Kiss from Gustav Klimt. So first I'm going to read it in Spanish, and that is my own like my native language, and then I'm going to read it in English for you. Thank you. Ese día solo pensaba en lo hermoso que sería rozar sus dulces y delicados labios con los míos. He caído rendida en tus brazos, replicaba ella en un susurro, que provenía de aquello que desde el momento en que la vi anheló mi alma sentir. Un breve roce de mis manos en su piel tersa como la seda, blanca como la nieve y dulce como el néctar, lograba provocar enrojecer sus mejillas tal como el objeto de mi perdición, sus hermosos labios rosados. Oh, mi amado, te anhelo tanto, eres tan fuerte como un roble y tan vigoroso, que al verme atrapada en tus brazos despiertas en mí una oleada de sentimientos incomprensibles, tan opuestos entre sí. Es la pasión desbordante e intensa unida a la tranquilidad de quien puede cerrar sus ojos y sentir paz y armonía en su interior. Eres todo lo que deseé y más, rodear tu espalda con mis manos mientras las tuyas rodean mi vida entera. Esa tierna caricia que despierta el amor más dulce, provocando en mi anhelo de estar siempre a tu lado y no soltarte nunca. Ven, ven calladamente y bésame. Bésame hasta que olvidemos que el tiempo existe. Bésame porque mis labios te anhelan también. That day, I could only think about how beautiful it would be to brush her sweet, delicate lips with mine. I have fallen into your arms, she replied in a whisper, which came from that which my soul longed to feel since the moment I saw her. A brief touch of my hands on her silky smooth skin, white as snow and sweet as nectar, cause her cheeks to become red just like the object of my unbridled love, her beautiful rosy lips. Oh, my beloved, I long for you so much. You are as strong as an oak, and so vigorous that when I see myself trapped in your arms, you awaken in me a wave of incomprehensible feelings, so opposed to each other. It is the overflowing and intense passion united with the tranquility of those who can close their eyes and feel peace and harmony within themselves. You are all I desire and more. I surround your back with my hands while you surround my entire life. Your tender caress awakens the sweetest love, provoking in me the longing to be always at your side and never let go. Come, come quickly and kiss me until we forget time exists. Kiss me because my lips yearn for you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Did you happen to say that's your first poem?
Yes, it's my first poem in English. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure there'd be applause. I just should have mentioned that earlier. We're used to having applause after a poem, and there's something about reading into the void that, again, is very different. But thank you.
Thank you.
Diana Cole. Diana?
Try to unmute my thumbnail. That did not work.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to read a poem called The Border because we're in sort of a border between the darkness and the returning light. And it's about when Nick Walenda walked across a wire over Niagara Falls. The border. Into a theater of wind and mist, a cable dips, disappears. A man moves steadily, each step shortening the improbable crossing. He dissolves into thunder. The camera loses, then finds his face, soaked, focused on the distance, relenting as one border yields, one grows taut. In elkskin suede, hand-sewn, his feet search, curl, and grab the wire. He talks to the camera, tells us his arms are numb as he weighs the long pole in small size, side to side. And we can feel it, the waters waiting below, the ease of letting go. Furthermore, the urge to. But he inches ahead for us who falter. He moves each second of inertia, a pinpoint of balance from which we at each moment of being step forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you. Now we have Anna Arelis Cruz Cabrera. Anna?
Not sure I see her here, Mary.
Okay. All right. All right, so we'll move on to Lawrence Cripps.
Hello. I joined you late and then my computer just froze, so I just got back on. My poem is a short one, appropriately called An Equinox. And then what comes is this awkward feeling of having arrived again in the womb of a larger whole, an unknown place, or perhaps not recalled after traveling these years on unannotated terrain, just guessing meanings and destinations. This newly promised emergence places all parts in peril of both loss and gain, choosing suicide to evolve the self. My only savior is knowing I am an eternal consciousness, riding the crest of an eternal wave. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Okay. Diane, Dolphin. Diane, are you out there?
Hi, just took me a minute to unmute.
Okay.
Yes. So
Ah,
my poem is called Solstice 2020. It's as if winter never left us, has seeped into our blood, run it cold, numbed all touch. Bone weary, hands pressed to ears, we retreat, each to our inner caves, to the thin blue light of our own devices. Where have we all gone? Is it our souls or our voices that are lost? How to believe such interminable darkness will move once again imperceptibly toward light? How to believe? Is it faith, reason, or innate prescience that tells us this too shall pass? For now, let us stand at our windows, opened to the bracing wind, hum our ancestors' songs, the ones we never knew we knew, then louder, hear them echo in the pines, turn away from the silence into the darkness singing.
thank you, Diane. All right, Ethel, Schweiger. Ethel, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
There you are.
Okay. This is a rather short poem that came to me when I was walking in the Boyden Wildlife Sanctuary in Taunton. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
It's called Sanctuary Song. A choir of young pines rooted in the alto earth sings soprano in the forest to the sun, the river, the wind, and to me. And on earth, peace. And Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Ethel. I just received a chat from Risa. Eleanor decided to not read a poem tonight. So, okay. We have Alex Holt next.
And actually, Mary too. We have two more editions.
We do? Okay.
Right after me, it's going to be Priya's husband. I don't know your name, and then Farnaz. Okay, so you can call him Priya, then Farnaz after me. All right. So this is.
Okay.
This is a poem by Mark Nepo, one of my favorite poets. It's called Things Dark and Light. At first, dreary meant blood-stained, and glad meant honest. An angel was an attendant spirit, and home, well, no one knows what home means, which is why there are so many stories of journey. Truth is, we create the words we need. Like shovels or ropes, we gut out small tools to help us to our feet and on, always looking for the wheel or its equivalent to free us from the burden of living a step at a time. When that is the point, a step at a time. I dreamt last night that the raven met the dove, and they realized they are one. So now I wonder if all things dark and light are simply looking for each other.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely. All right, Priya. I hope that's the right pronunciation.
Hello, how are you guys doing? Thank you for accepting our offer for reading this poem. I'm
We're
reading a poem from.
thrilled. Okay. Oh, hi.
Hi. I'm going to be reading a poem actually from a very well-known poet from Turkey. It's well-known all over the world, Nazım Hikmet.
Yes.
I am first going to read this in Turkish, just like our Colombian friend read it in English, in Spanish, I'm sorry. Then I'm going to read the translation in Turkish. It's just a part of the poem. So here we go. Seni düşünmek güzel şey, ümitli şey. Dünyanın en güzel sesinden en güzel şarkıyı dinlemek gibi bir şey. Fakat artık ümit vermiyor bana. Ben artık şarkı dinlemek değil, şarkı söylemek istiyorum. So this was the Turkish piece. So here we go with the English. Thinking of you is pretty and hopeful. It is like listening the most beautiful song from the most beautiful voice on earth, but hope is not enough for me anymore. I don't want to listen to songs anymore. I want to sing. It's basically to my love to Pirya.
That is, thank you so much.
And Merry Christmas to you all.
Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you. Okay, Alex, I've forgotten the name of the next person. I didn't write it down very carefully.
Farnaz.
Okay, Farnaz.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Farnaz, and I'm originally from Iran. As mentioned, we celebrate Night of Solstice called Yalda, and we recite poems by Hafiz. And I would like to read a poem by the great Sufi poet Hafiz.
So, Farnaz, are you on video? I'm trying to find you to spotlight.
I'm sorry. You won't believe this, but I still haven't figured out Zoom. So, and I gave access to my video, but I had to get out of the meeting and come back.
Okay, no problem. We'll have you. You'll be okay. We'll have you. We have you up there with your name. Okay.
And I have to say, I understand Turkish, and the poem that you just read, I mean, when you read in translation, things get lost. So there are things in this poem that will get lost, but hopefully you'll receive the message. The poem is... Evet, ben Türkçe konuşabilirim. Çok teşekkür ederim sizin güzel şarkınız için.
Thank you.
Yes, and I am from Azerbaijan, part of Iran. That's why I understand Turkish.
Devlet tek millet.
Sağ olun. The poem is called The Lost Joseph. Your lost Joseph will return to Canaan. Do not grieve. This house of sorrows will become a garden. Do not grieve. Oh, grieving heart, you will mend. Do not despair. This frenzied mind will return to calm. Do not grieve. When the spring of life sets again in the meadows, a crown of flowers you will bear. Do not grieve. If these turning epochs do not move with our will today, the spheres of time are not constant. Do not grieve. Do not lose hope, for awareness can perceive the unseen. Behind the curtains, hidden scenes play. Do not grieve. As you step through the desert, longing for the Kaaba, the thorns may reproach you. Do not grieve. Our state in separation from friends and with demands of foes, the God who spins fate knows all. Do not grieve. Hafiz, in the corner of poverty and loneliness of dark nights, as long as your words are prayers and lessons of Quran, do not grieve. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you. That was gorgeous. Okay. All right, Alex. Oh, Alex read his poem. Oh, Gil. Gil Mason, are you out there?
Yes, here I am, I think.
Where are you?
I don't know. Am I on?
Here you are.
Here you are.
Yeah, well, I'm not on here because this one says Billy. Let me have that one.
Actually,
Here, Alex, here I am.
yeah, we can hear you, Gil. You're on two devices, so you have to mute one of them.
Okay, Billy, you want to mute that one?
Yes.
Great. Okay, now you can go for it. Gil, let's make sure you're spotlighted for a moment. Let's see. Where are you?
For those of you who don't know, Gil and Billy Mason are the founders of International House. Hi, Billy.
I don't actually, Gil, I just see Billy. Oh, there you are, Gil. Okay, hold on. Now I found you. All right, add spotlight. Oh, I think Gil's phone is frozen. Let's see.
The inevitable technological difficulties.
We did really well
We
through the
did. We're doing.
night.
See me and hear me?
Okay.
He always wants
Okay.
to- he's always frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Now you're good.
Okay. All right. Way back when, we had some readings, and this was just at the beginning of the Great Darkness. And Risa, matter of fact, had asked me to do something a little bit lighter, and I presented some doggerel in which I had a solution to our great darkness, and this was that we all leave for Canada. However, we did not. Now we are 4 years later, and it looks like possibly we're out of the darkness. At least the darkness of the loss of our democracy. Also, possibly we are out of the darkness of death, which we have lived under the threat of for the last 9 months. So it's a good time to consider the ending of the darkness, the ending of solstice. And to that end, I tried to come up with some poetry, but I had neither the wit nor the words to do it. So instead, I will simply quote or misquote what I consider to be the appropriate thing at this point. And that is probably the most well-known or commonest poetry, and that is of Robert Frost's. And I think it's appropriate now, and I will slightly misquote it. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but we have promises to keep, and miles to go before we sleep, and miles to go before we sleep. Incidentally, I found out after I had decided to do this that Billy in Radcliffe back in 1951 had sat on a sofa while Robert Frost read her poetry. Very exciting. And just to keep from ending on too dark a note, I have one other quotation I'd like to give you. And this is Whittier, who wrote, completely unconnected, that under the trees where the fires burn, there the witches are brewing tea.
Oh.
That's it.
Thank you, Gil. Thank you so much. Okay. We're at the end of open mic, and Mike, I believe, has a song for us, and then I'll read a final poem.
"2020 has been a year of borders, boundaries. From the political immigration border to the 6-foot boundary we maintain between one another. And as we travel through the darkness into the light, I wish you all a safe passage as you cross your own Rio Grande. For all who cross the border in search of still waters, in search of still waters. Every faith and race may find a peaceful place, may find a peaceful place.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Even though we're ending on that very peaceful note, and as Gil said, we're coming out of the darkness, I'm going to read my annual solstice lullaby, which calls for us being alert. Solstice lullaby. No time for rest this solstice night, though slumber calls from sheltered cave, from blanket snow, through ice-draped pine, in lullaby hush of Mother Earth. To dream in such tranquility, to wake would seem a foolish deed. But wake we must this longest night, to build fires, smoky, spare, of twigs and peat, scavenged from a gilded shore. Awake we hear icy pines, creaking limbs, shattered glass. Awake we see flickering stars, bright clarity in darkened sky, sense spirals moving underground as earth shifts imperceptibly. Awake we tend our smoldering fires, endless through the bleakest hours, fan their flames with frozen hands, till night falls into warming sun. And I want to thank you all for coming to our annual solstice celebration. It was absolutely wonderful. I know you're all out there. And please come again next year.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right, I think we're, Alex, clicking off. How do we?
Yeah, I'll click it off. Bye, everybody.
Right.
Thank
Hate
you.
to say goodbye,
Thank
but
you. Thank you,
bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.